to Lieutenant Governor Houston, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost, my friend Congressman Troy Balderson, the State Republican Chairman, Jane Timken, all my fellow Americans near and far, it is great to be back in the Buckeye State. Happy Columbus Day. And it's also great to be here with a family business that's created nearly 400 good-paying Ohio jobs. Would you join me in thanking Marty Savco Sr., Marty Savco Jr., and all the great men and women of Savco and Sons? What a great family. And I appreciate you all coming out today. But I'm here for one reason and one reason only. And that is that Ohio and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. It's on, Ohio, and the road to victory runs right through the Buckeye State. It really is great to be with all of you. You know, I had a busy week last week. I don't know if you got to see it, but I had a little debate with Kamala Harris over in Salt Lake City. Some people think we did all right. But let me be clear with all of you. Let me be clear with all of you. That debate was not just a debate between 2 candidates for vice president. It was a debate between 2 visions. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want higher taxes, open borders, socialized medicine. They want to abolish fossil fuels. They want taxpayer funding of abortion, defund the police, and pack the Supreme Court. Don't you doubt it. President Trump's vision? We rebuild our military. We cut taxes. We rolled back regulations. We unleashed American energy. We secured our border, supported law enforcement, stood for life and liberty and the Constitution of the United States. And everything we've done obviously got them a little bit worked up. But I got to tell you, when the people of Ohio compare the Biden-Harris agenda with our agenda, the choice is clear. If you cherish faith and freedom, law and order and life, in 22 days we need you to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. It's true. You know, 4 years ago, we inherited a military that's been hollowed out by devastating budget cuts, an economy that was struggling to break out of the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. Boy, is it good to be back in the heartland. I'm telling you what, I grew up just right next door. You know, I tell people I come from a place with people with strong hearts and strong opinions. But this is a country that loves the proud heritage, past, present, and future of the good old USA. Now, like I started to say, 4 years ago, we inherited a military that was hollowed out by reckless budget cuts, an economy that was struggling to break out of the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But in 3 short years, we rebuilt our military. We restored the arsenal of democracy, and as your Vice President and the proud father of a United States Marine, I'm happy to report we're finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and the support that they need to defend this nation. I mean, did you know when we took office, there was a large number of aircraft in the Air Force that were kept on the ground to be used as spare parts to keep other aircraft in the air. But thanks to President Donald Trump, those days are over. President Trump has signed the largest increase in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. We've stood with those who serve and their families. And we stood with all of you who wore the uniform of the United States of America. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, America saw years of heartbreaking scandal at the VA that shocked the conscience of the nation. I mean, here in this city that's home to more than 100,000 veterans, and you all lived through it like we did. I mean, there were actually veterans who perished waiting to receive basic care at VA facilities. But under President Donald Trump, I'm proud to report, we've signed the most sweeping reforms of the VA in 50 years. We fired thousands of VA employees that weren't providing the care our veterans earned, and now Veterans Choice is now available to every veteran in America. In fact, if you're able to stand, please do. Otherwise, raise your hand. If you wore the uniform of the United States, would you just put your hand in the air and give us a chance to thank you one more time for your service to America? Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. God bless you. Thank you. Great Americans. So we didn't just rebuild our military and support our veterans. In our first 3 years, we revived the American economy. Where Joe Biden wants to raise taxes, President Trump cut taxes across the board for working families at businesses just like this one. We rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in American history. We unleashed American energy. We fought for free and fair trade, and in just 3 short years, businesses large and small created more than 7 million good-paying jobs, including 97,000 jobs right here in the Buckeye State. And a good example is right here at Savco & Sons. I was talking to the family on my way in. They told me after President Trump's tax cuts, the Savcos bought 70 new pieces of equipment and trucks. Some of them are right around us here. They gave, more importantly, they told me they gave their employees substantial pay raises, and Savco & Sons doubled in size, and they are hiring today. What a great family and a great company. You know, it's amazing to think this company started like so many other great American companies began. With Marty's dad, his mom, and a wheelbarrow. He was an Army veteran who had just come back from World War II, the son of an immigrant, a coal miner, who literally walked to Columbus from the mines of western Pennsylvania. Nick Savo built everything that matters. A family, a business, and a good name. He lived the American dream. But today we're joined by a woman without whom none of that would have been possible. She's the daughter of an Italian immigrant. She helped lead this company for decades. She's a former Democrat who's now supporting President Donald Trump, 97 years young. Would you join me in welcoming Jill Savko, the matriarch of Savko and Sons. Thank you, Jill. I walked up and Gilda said, "I've been praying for you." And I said, "Well, that explains a lot." Thank you, Gilda. Thank you for you and your example and your family. We're so inspired. So we've stood for our national defense, for our veterans, and for jobs and opportunities, businesses just like this one. And President Donald Trump has stood every day for the rule of law. We've appointed more than 200 conservatives to our federal courts at every level, and they are all men and women who will uphold all the God-given liberties in our Constitution, like the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Now, last month, we rightly paused as a nation to honor the life and service of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But when the memorials were over, President Donald Trump fulfilled his duty under the Constitution, and he nominated an extraordinary, principled, conservative woman to the Supreme Court of the United States, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Now, the Senate started their confirmation hearings this morning. All the senators were doing their opening remarks. Questioning will probably start tomorrow. The president said, Democrats on the Judiciary Committee need to give Judge Barrett a respectful and dignified hearing this time. But we have reason to be concerned. You all remember the attacks on Judge Barrett's faith when she was confirmed to the Court of Appeals just 2 years ago. Democrats and their Hollywood friends have already started to attack Judge Amy Coney Barrett's Christian faith as well, this time around. You know, back then, one Democrat questioned her qualifications because he called her, quote, an Orthodox Catholic. Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris, actually attacked another one of our nominees to the federal courts because he was a member of the Catholic Knights of Columbus. And the ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee said Judge Barrett's Catholic faith was of concern and said, quote, the dogma lives loudly within you. Well, I got news for the Democrats and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And the right to live, to work, to worship according to the dictates of our faith and conscience lives in the Constitution of the United States of America. These attacks on religious faith must stop, and they must stop now. Now, the Senate has a job to do. And after they discharge their duty to advise and consent, I'll make a prediction. Judge Amy Coney Barrett will be Justice Amy Coney Barrett. We're going to fill that seat. Speaking of the Supreme Court, the American people also deserve to know that Democrats are actually talking about adding seats to the Supreme Court. It's called packing the court if they win this election. It would be nothing less than the biggest power grab in American history. They want to pack the court with liberal judges. They want to tear down more than a century and a half of judicial independence in this country. After 150 years, with 9 seats on the Supreme Court of the United States, Democrats in Washington are talking about packing the court. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won't tell the American people what they're going to do. Joe Biden refused to answer the question during the presidential debate. You might have seen Kamala Harris refuse to answer the question when I posed it to her during the vice presidential debate. And last Friday, Joe Biden was asked if voters deserved to know if he plans to pack the court, and Joe Biden said, quote, "No, they don't." Well, Joe, yes, they do. The American people deserve a straight answer, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris need to come clean with the American people and come clean right now. When you're running for the highest court in the land, the American people deserve to know whether you're going to respect the highest court in the land. You know, the truth is there's only one explanation why they won't answer the question. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to pack the Supreme Court. But we're not going to let it happen. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years in the White House. And we're going to preserve an independent judiciary for generations to come. So we've stood for the rule of law and an independent judiciary. And every single day, President Donald Trump has stood with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement, and we always will. Let's hear it for all those in law enforcement who are with us here today. You know, I like to say all my heroes wear uniforms. Whether it's those of you who've worn the uniform of the United States or those of you who put on the uniform of law enforcement. I have to tell you, since I was a little boy, we'd go up to Chicago, we'd visit my grandparents, and we were there with my uncle, who was a Chicago police officer for 25 years. He'd come out in the morning, dressed in that uniform, sidearm strapped to his belt. Me and my 3 brothers had just looked at him in awe. I think you all know the men and women who serve in law enforcement in this country are the best people in America, and they deserve the respect of every American every day. Thank you for your service. Now, President Trump and I will always support the right of Americans to peaceful protest. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. Violence against innocent civilians, the destruction of property, or violence against law enforcement will not be tolerated, and those who do these things will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Now, for months, all Joe Biden talked about was peaceful protesters, remember? All summer long, as the American people literally watched businesses in their communities burn to the ground. I was in Minneapolis not long ago. I traveled with Flora Westbrook, a wonderful African-American business owner, who told me of that night, just a few days after the killing of George Floyd, that she watched violent protesters come closer and closer and closer to her business. A business that she built, a little salon, 35 years ago. And they burned her out. And I stood alongside what remains of her business just a few short weeks ago, and I told Flora, from the heart of this president and the heart of the American people, we're going to rebuild that business. We're going to rebuild that community, bigger and better than ever before. Flora and all those like her who've been victimized by these violent protesters and rioters deserve nothing less. But the truth is, Joe Biden would double down on the very policies that are leading to violence in our cities. I mean, when you start to withdraw support for those who protect and serve, you only embolden those who would do harm to our communities and our families. Now, Joe Biden explains it all by saying that America is, in his words, systemically racist. And that police, as he said, and his running mate said last week, that police have a, quote, implicit bias against minorities. When Joe Biden was asked if he'd support cutting funding to law enforcement, he said, yes, absolutely. Let me make you a promise. Under President Donald Trump, we're going to back the blue. We're not going to defund the police, not now, not ever. Under President Donald Trump, we're going to have law and order in every city, in every state, for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. You know, the President and I know what you know. We don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting our African American neighbors and families. We have done both for the last 3.5 years, and we're going to keep supporting law enforcement and keep expanding opportunities and jobs and education for African Americans and all of our minorities for 4 more years. So we've stood for the rule of law, for law and order, and all the values that have made this country great. And I can't tell you how proud I am to be vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. Where Joe Biden supports taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth, President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. So we've rebuilt our military, revived our economy, stood for law and order, liberties, and life. In 3 short years, we made America great again. And none of that would have been possible without the strong support of our allies in Congress. That's why we need to send Congressman Troy Balderson back to a new Republican majority that retires Nancy Pelosi once and for all. What a great guy, and what a great, great champion of this administration. Thank you, Congressman Balderson. So we made great progress in our first 3 years. And then the coronavirus struck from China. But I'm here to tell you, when there were just 5 cases of the coronavirus in the United States, President Trump did what no other American president had ever done. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Joe Biden said that was, quote, hysterical, xenophobic. He actually wrote in the month of January that banning travel would, quote, make things worse. But I can tell you, as the head of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, President Donald Trump's action, suspending travel from China, saved untold American lives, and it bought us time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II. It's true. We reinvented testing. We saw to the manufacture and delivery of hundreds of millions of medical supplies to our incredible doctors and nurses. We developed medicines that are literally saving lives, and we are on track to have the first safe and effective coronavirus vaccine before the end of this year. It's going to happen. As the President said on the South Lawn Friday, through the power of American science and medicine, we will eradicate the China virus once and for all. You know, I spoke to the President this morning, and I'm happy to report to all of you here in the Buckeye State